When you pour attention into an idea, when you rehearse it, narrate it, defend it, feel it, you are not just thinking, you are irrigating neural soil. The brain, ever eager to optimize for whatever you highlight, reacts with architectural ambition. A frequently activated circuit begins as a modest footpath, but soon expands into a multi-line highway. With enough emotional charge, it becomes a fortress. And if identity gets involved, the brain treats it like a sacred land, untouchable, reinforced, and meticulously maintained. Attention functions like a biochemical invitation to grow. Repeated activation signals the brain to allocate energy and materials. Metabolic resources flow toward active neurons. Neuromodulators amplify the message. This circuitry matters. Strengthen it. Structural reinforcement begins at the synaptic level. The chemistry behind this is not subtle. When you give an idea focus, the prefrontal cortex recruits a cocktail of neuromodulators, dopamine, noradrenaline, glutamate, that transform simple electrical chatter into long-term structural change. Dopamine tags the idea as significant, not necessarily pleasurable. Noradrenaline sharpens the signal, quietening surrounding noise. Glutamate acts like the spark, initiating the cascade that leads into learning. Together, these chemicals convert attention into architecture. Inside the synapse, the machinery of memory performs its intricate dance. AMBA receptors are inserted into the postsynaptic membrane. NMDA receptors help detect repeated activation. Intercellular pathways trigger protein synthesis. Structural proteins reinforce the synaptic spine. The synapse becomes faster, stronger, harder to ignore. AMBA receptor insertion is one of the brain's big moves. It's like adding extra microphones to the receiving neurons. Next time the sending neuron speaks, the message lands with amplified clarity. This is the molecular backbone of long-term potentiation, the persistent strengthening that underlies learning, habit, and belief formation. If the idea carries emotional voltage, the amygdala steps into the spotlight. Fear, pride, excitement, shame, any strong emotional state recruit additional neuromodulators that mark the idea as survival relevant. Once the amygdala tags a circuit as important, plasticity skyrockets. The wiring thickens. Emotional memory digs deep grooves because for most human history, remembering emotional event meant surviving them. As the circuit gains strength, neurons physically remodel. Dendritic spines grow and multiply. Synaptic connections increase in density. Axons sprout new terminals, expanding communication routes. Glial cells adjust support to nourish the busy pathway. Myelination increases, boosting signal speed. These aren't abstractions. Cells literally change their shape, branching like trees fed by a steady sunlight of repeated attention. With time and practice, responsibility shifts to the basal ganglia, the brain's habit machinery. Once a circuit becomes efficient enough, the basal ganglia automate it. The belief or behavior runs with minimal conscious effort. Conserving cognitive resources. This is the neural autopilot. The river no longer needs intentionality to flow. Gravity alone can carry it forward. Identity deepens the entrenchment. If a belief becomes woven into your sense of self, the medial prefrontal cortex activates whenever the idea is triggered. Identity glues circuits together so tightly that the mind treats challenges to them as threats. Beliefs tied to selfhood get priority reinforcement because losing them feels like losing orientation. This is how attention builds skill, passion, worldview, and also how fixation builds rigidity, obsession, and spiral. A well-fed circuit becomes territorial every time you revisit it. You reinforce its borders. Every emotional repetition builds new concrete, making the pattern more automatic and less negotiable. And yet, the entire system is value blind. The brain doesn't care whether the idea is constructive, neutral, or harmful. Its only criterion is repetition plus salience. It strengthens what you feed. It lets wither what you neglect. The architecture the architecture rearranges itself faithfully around whatever receives the most metabolic devotion.